AFC Wild Card round. The first game is between Josh's Cleveland Browns, my hometown Cleveland Browns, represented by Joe Flacco. Browns are their fourth quarterback starting this year, January Joe Flacco, against Josh's favorite rookie quarterback out of this class, the man that did win the AFC South Division. I give it to Josh. He was correct on that when he predicted it about 6 weeks ago.
Thank you very much. I told you.
You did. It took a collapse from Jacksonville after they beat Houston. Who the hell would have thought? I think you were ready to concede the division to me when they beat Houston and then they just completely collapsed. So, Browns, Texans. Browns are favored by 2.5. How do you see this game going down as a Browns fan? Lay it on us.
As a Browns fan, Houston was the team I did not want to put. Was the team I least wanted to play.
Concur with you.
Between Houston, Indianapolis, and Jacksonville, I would have preferred to play Jacksonville because Trevor Lawrence doesn't have the mobility of C.J. Stroud. I think Jacksonville, it wouldn't have been a hostile environment. I think Browns fans would have taken over that stadium in Jacksonville. But instead, it is the Houston Texans. Facing C.J. Stroud really scares me because if you go back and watch the Browns defense this season, when have they struggled most? When they faced Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson, Geno Smith,
Matthew Stafford.
Matthew Stafford doesn't really fit in. Matthew Stafford doesn't really fit into the category I'm talking about.
Okay.
Because he's not a mobile quarterback.
No, he's not. But I'm saying those are the games they struggled in, mostly on the road.
Right, but I'm talking about specifically mobile quarterbacks.
Okay.
Like, from my perspective, the Browns defense struggled against mobile quarterbacks, whether it was Lamar, Russell Wilson, Geno. I'm sure Justin Fields even gave them problems. You know, if that Hail Mary would have been completed, the Browns might not be in the playoffs. You don't know. But the one good thing, I hate to say it because there's an injury, but at least Tank Dell is not going to be there. I hope he recovers from his injury and gets back next season. But still, that's a big piece of the Texans offense that is not going to be there. But they still have Nico Collins, who CJ has developed a very nice chemistry with. They still have Dalton Schultz. The good thing is we already went into Houston and beat them just a couple weeks ago. But CJ Stroud was not playing in that game. He was out due to concussion protocol. So I think it's correct that the Browns should be favored. But this game really scares me because of CJ.
Yeah, I think the Browns record-wise, and I think 2.5 is about right. I think the Browns do cover. I think it's by half a point. They probably win by like 20-17. I think it's going to be a little bit lower scoring than the game a couple weeks ago. You mentioned, and you talked about it already, that C.J. Stroud did not play in that game. I do think Houston has a better success than Case Keenum did vertically attacking, but the Browns have the secondary and they have the defensive line to match up with the Texans. Myles Garrett is going to have a big game. They're going to have to get pressure on Stroud because if you can get pressure on him, he becomes a different quarterback. I think if Houston gets a lead early, I'll say this, the Browns are in trouble. And as great as Joe Flacco has played this year, and we talked about it, I would even say 4 to 5 times a game, Flacco throws an interceptable ball. It's not like he's been perfect dialing it up. Flacco has made a lot of mistakes. He's turned the ball over. He's going to have to play completely free football. Amari Cooper had a huge game on that game in Christmas Eve. I think Houston will have a better plan for him this game. I could see this being more of a David Njoku type game who's had a big Pro Bowl season for the Browns. I think the Browns win. I think it's less scoring than what it was, though, on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, I don't know how much stock no pun intended, but I don't know how much stock you can take from that game on Christmas Eve considering, again, CJ Stroud was not there, so this is a different Texans team that we're going to be seeing on Saturday. Here's the thing, though. Houston tried playing the two safety look, and that didn't work against Amari Cooper. They tried other defensive alignments in that game to combat Amari Cooper, and that didn't work. I get that DeMeco Ryans comes from the 49ers. He was their defensive coordinator, so I'm not taking anything away from him because look at what he's done for the Houston Texans. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up winning Coach of the Year.
Oh, no. We got to stop that debate. Stefanski's the Coach of the Year. I get it. They won the AFC South. They went from 3 to 10 wins. But I'm sorry. What was more impressive? I thought Houston was going to be a good team this year against 7-8 wins. So maybe I was the only person that thought that. Maybe it's right. That would have less impressive to me. But starting 5 quarterbacks, and I'll count Jeff Driscoll, even though it was a meaningless game against Cincinnati, in the equation, and winning 11 games this year. By the way, he won a game where his quarterback had a broken shoulder in Baltimore when they were down by 14 in the fourth quarter. Kevin Stefanski's job was on the line this year with the Browns, and the Browns, believe it or not, were tied with Buffalo for the second best record in the AFC.
That is true. This is going to be a fascinating game.
I'll tell you what else is going to be a fascinating game, Josh. You called the Miami Dolphins frauds. I thought I had you there for about 3.5 quarters, and then a punt return happened, and the Dolphins melted down in the second half. Congratulations to Josh Allen and the Bills. We'll get to them in a second. But now this is a rematch. Germany, week 9, when Miami did shut out Kansas City in the second half, but a lot of the defense starters for Miami are now no longer there. I think with this game being in 0 degree, it's going to feel like negative 20 outside in Kansas City. That's big advantage Chiefs. But we've talked about this all year long with Kansas City. What do they not have this year?
Wide receivers.
Well, I was just going to say in general, an explosive passing game. They cannot get deep shots down the field. They're going to have to rely a lot on Isaiah Pacheco. I think this is more lower scoring than people think. The line is Kansas City -4, and I think it's about that. I think it's very similar to what we got in the first game. Chiefs 21, Dolphins 17, 16-ish, somewhere around there.
First of all, I hate that this game is exclusively streaming on Peacock. Get rid of that shit.
Well, Josh, again, here we go. This is where I agree with you, but it's no point in talking about it because you're going to do it. Because not only will there be an NFL game streaming on Peacock now, because that's where the money will be, but I suspect in the next year or two, you will have an NFL game that will be streaming exclusively on Paramount Plus. You will have an NFL playoff game streaming exclusively on Amazon Prime. It's just the way of the world. We're going to have to adapt to it. Continue.
It's unfortunate that this game is exclusively streaming on Peacock because you left this part out of the equation or of the story. Tyreek Hill is making his return to Arrowhead Stadium.
I don't think that's as big of a deal as people think. It's not like it's a quarterback. It's a wide receiver.
So what? You know the impact he had in Kansas City.
Okay, but can I say this? Maybe Tyreek Hill is the exception, and if you want to say that, you got me. But how many wide receivers are worth more than a couple points in the NFL? To me, none.
Okay. Again, I'm going to just straight up say it. Tyreek is the exception. How many times did we see Mahomes just go, Tyreek is down there somewhere, bang. I mean,
and the Chiefs won the Super Bowl without him last year. And by the way, the Dolphins clamored the Jets without him this year. So,
okay, but still, I will say the Chiefs got very lucky in their Super Bowl run last year. they got lucky breaks from the refs in the AFC.
Oh, they absolutely did. But you need breaks to win championships. Every championship team, the winner of this year's Super Bowl, which I hope will obviously be my team. You don't think it's going to be? We're going to get into it.
No
Every
way.
every team will have a break somewhere in there, whether it's the quarterback they play or whatever. You look at most of these runs. Look at the run Cincinnati went on. With Burrow, they got to play the Raiders with Rich Bisaccia. They got to play Ryan Tannehill and the Tennessee Titans that we just got done discussing. That's a break when you look at the other playoff teams historically.
Okay, let's get to this last game.
Oh, this is a crap show. Pittsburgh. Listen, the Steelers are starting Mason Rudolph.
Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer at quarterback.
I'll say this. That TJ Watt injury, which I don't know why he was playing in the game. Baltimore rested all their starters. The Steelers did not need him to beat Baltimore. I thought that was a wrong decision on Pittsburgh's part. But the TJ Watt injury pretty much renders this game null and void. Because if the Steelers had TJ Watt, I could see them getting a couple turnovers, a couple sacks, defensive stop. They make it somewhat of a close game. Now, Gabe Davis sounds like he's not going to play for Buffalo, though we'll see. He makes big impacts in playoff games, though not as much as Joe Brady has taken over as OC. I think Buffalo blows them out, is my guess, by about 17. I think they do cover the 10-point spread, probably about 34-10.
Here's something crazy. It's highly unlikely to happen, but if the Browns beat the Texans, the Steelers beat the Bills, and the Dolphins beat the Chiefs,
then Browns would host Miami.
Yes. But the likelihood of all of that happening, I'm going to say slim to none.
Yeah, I mean, I think Miami, I will say this, I think Miami, I know you think they're frauds and all that, I get it. I think they have a slight chance to upset Kansas City.
I would love that.
If they can get explosive play here or there from Tyreek, if they can use Devon Achane, they were confusing Buffalo all throughout the first half, and they just went away from it in the second half. I think it's more of a Mike McDaniel thing than it is, the team choking under pressure. They just did not have a good second half game plan.
Yeah, I don't know what that was all about, but yeah, I would say if I had to list these three games in terms of interest level, one being the most interesting, three being the least interesting. 3 is obviously Pittsburgh, Buffalo. I just don't care about that game. Number 2, I'm going to say Miami, Kansas City. And obviously, I'm going to say number 1 is...
No, I completely agree with you. I think the Browns-Texans is maybe the most even matchup on the board.